So both Samsung and Apple have released more affordable versions of their recent full-fat flagship phones. You've got Samsung's Galaxy S10e and you've got the Apple iPhone XR. Now, calling these phones affordable is probably being a mite generous. Kind of like calling Boris Johnson a truly handsome fellow because he happens to be stood next to a blobfish at the time. I'm sure the S10e is cheaper than the fully fledged S10, but it still costs 669 quid here in the UK, while the iPhone XR is an even more meaty £750. And unfortunately on both these smartphones you don't get the full premium camera experience that you do on the actual flagship handsets. But that said, both the Galaxy S10e and the iPhone XR do rock some very respectable optics indeed. I've taken them both out and about to do a bit of a comparison, and here's how they stack up for photo and video quality. And for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech, don't forget to poke, subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! Now let's start, as always, with a look at those sexy specs. The iPhone XR sports a single lens rear camera, quite a rarity in 2019. It's a 20 megapixel shooter with a fixed f1.8 aperture and a bit of built-in optical image stabilization. And its opponent today is Samsung's Galaxy S10e, which sports a dual lens setup. You get a 12 megapixel primary lens with dynamic aperture, swapping between f1.5 and f2.4 to suit the environmental conditions. That also comes with optical image stabilization built in. And secondly, you have a 16 megapixel ultra wide angle lens with a 123-degree view of the world and an f2.2 aperture. That of course means that the S10e is by far the most flexible of these two smartphone snappers. Not only can that aperture switch up on its own, but you can also manually swap between the two lenses for a different view of the world. Very handy indeed when you're trying to capture some bloody huge building, like in this example here. Of course, for shooting everyday photos, you'll get strong results from either device, as you would kind of expect and hope for at this price point. You do tend to get warmer hues in general with the Galaxy S10e, which tweaks the camera settings to produce those more visually striking tones. Meanwhile, the iPhone XR is strictly all about a natural, realistic image. Which is better? Well, that's definitely down to your own personal palette. And when it comes to shooting a naturally vibrant subject, we more often than not actually prefer the pictures grabbed on the iPhone. Those vivid hues really shine through, while Samsung Snapper occasionally seems to get a wee bit confused and actually dials down the punchy colours. Neither device here offers a proper telephoto zoom, so it's digital zoom all the way when you want to get closer to your subject, unless of course you actually bother to move your lazy arse. In this test, the S10e is clearly the winner, snatching up lots of finer details for sharper results. And the same goes for up-close macro shots as well, where Samsung's blower offers crisper, cleaner photos. In HDR situations, again, both phones perform strongly. It is pretty tight, said the actress to the Bishop, but the iPhone XR claws back a victory, producing more natural-looking skies while also capturing a well-balanced image overall. What about those night shots? Well, remember when Samsung used to be the ruling champion for low-light snaps? That sure as hell ain't the case anymore. The iPhone XR consistently produced better looking photos in our tests, with less grain and stronger contrast. The Galaxy S10e's high aperture mode sucks in plenty of light, sure, but you will need to hold your hand very still to avoid any kind of horrid blur. And those cityscapes aren't terribly pretty either, as those light bits are definitely oversaturated. That said, at least you do actually get some proper pro manual controls here on the Galaxy S10e, so you can fiddle and tweak to your heart's content, whereas here on the iPhone XR, all you can really do is piss about with the brightness levels. Now, only the Galaxy S10e has a dual lens rear camera, so you would expect portrait shots to come out better with Samsung's phone, right? And sure enough, that bokeh effect is simply sublime, as well as highly accurate. You also get a wider array of portrait mode features to play with on the S10e, although as usual, the blackout tool basically just looks like a squid shot its load indiscriminately all over the photo. And so on to the video, and both of these smartphones can shoot up to 4K resolution footage at either 30 or 60 frames per second. And with the Galaxy S10e, you also have the option to shoot in Samsung's HDR10 Plus mode as well, which is great if you actually have an HDR10 Plus compatible TV. The results with either handset are frankly stunning. At that Ultra HD level, we're talking perfectly crisp detail, natural looking scenes, and strong audio pickup that isn't too startled when it gets a bit windy. The full works. Even at that 4K level, the Galaxy S10e works wonders with its image stabilization when walking and shooting. It's a clear step up from the iPhone XR, which doesn't exactly disappoint but is certainly more shaky. However, that's not all. The Galaxy S10e also boasts Samsung's new Super Steady software solution, which can only be employed when shooting standard video at Full HD resolution. You have to bump it down from 4K, and you're definitely not allowed to shoot at that HDR10 Plus level. But this is definitely worth slapping on when you're moving at speed. The final footage we grabbed is absolutely bloody stunning. If we whip around to the front, the Galaxy S10e has a 10 megapixel f1.9 aperture selfie snapper, while the iPhone XR rocks a 7 megapixel f2.2 aperture lens instead. Both cameras do an admirable job of snapping your mug, especially in tricky lighting conditions where a bright background is involved. Meanwhile, the iPhone is slightly more successful at capturing natural looking skin tones. The Galaxy tends to capture brighter indoor selfies, not too surprising given that higher aperture, although we definitely prefer the more natural finish from Apple's shots. And while both blowers serve up a portrait mode of sorts, their tables have definitely been turned and a lot of Samsung's efforts are shonky at best.
Here on the iPhone XR, you get the option to shoot full HD video using that front-facing camera. Whereas here on Samsung's Galaxy S10e, you can shoot up to 4K resolution video using that front-facing camera.
So that right there is how the Galaxy S10e and the iPhone XR stack up in terms of the camera chops. Which one is your personal favourite? Definitely let us know in the comments down below. If there are any other comparisons you'd like me to do with the Galaxy S10e, it would be great to hear your thoughts on that one as well. And don't forget to poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell for more on the latest and greatest mobile tech. Cheers everyone, love you!